Hi everyone. This video will review the outline for the course Digital Literacy and Practicum Prep. The document you see on the screen is the outline, which can be downloaded from the course platform on D2L under Course Outline. We'll have a look at the highlights in this video, and when we have our first class, I'll recap some of the key points. You've seen a number of these course outlines already in the first semester, so I'm going to skip over a great deal of the detail in the standard parts of the template and just focus on the specifics for this course. One of the first things to highlight is that this is a 7-week course that's equivalent to 21 course hours, 3 hours per week. It is a synchronous course, so we will be meeting virtually in person every Friday starting at 6 p.m. I want to also point out that this course is what's called PLAR eligible, and PLAR stands for Prior Learning Assessment Recognition. It may be a little bit too late as you're watching this to apply for PLAR, but you can always check with Jamoya. If you have done all of the activities in the course and you can produce the artifacts, you may be able to receive a PLAR. This means you can show examples of all the assignments in the course, such as showing your LinkedIn profile is already well targeted to the field, an example of a video you've made for professional purposes, a webinar you've designed and presented, and so on. As we scroll down this first page at the bottom and carrying over onto page 2, it gives you the overall description of the course. Of course, technology, and particularly artificial intelligence, have really changed the work that CDPs are doing out in the field and the way that services are being delivered, as well as affecting the way work search is conducted by job seekers. As someone who's going to be guiding clients in looking for work and making career choices, you do need to know how to incorporate things like social media, branding, use of artificial intelligence, and digital tools into your work activities and the processes that you'll be guiding your clients through. So you're going to develop and enhance your digital literacy in this course in delivering services through social media platforms, through doing webinars online, coaching, creating on-demand videos, and facilitating online workshops. Although that sounds like a lot, really this course will just scratch the surface and help you get started in learning and reinforcing digital tools you'll need to know when you work out in the field, and then also be able to teach clients how to use these tools and platforms to establish an effective digital footprint. So you will, of course, be applying all of this to yourself initially, learning how to do all of these things. And part of how this is going to help you is that when you begin applying for practicum, you're going to have a set of new tools and artifacts available to market yourself, such as a branding video and a good LinkedIn profile. And then in the course, you will ultimately translate that to how you would coach clients through those kinds of processes. So that gives you the overall idea of what we're going to be doing in the course. So if I'm just going to scroll down, you're very familiar already with this chart, having seen it many times in the other course outline, so I'm not going to spend any time on that. And let me just go right down here to the course outcomes. The outcomes relate to the description I just gave you, and they break it down into a little bit more detail. And this identifies specifically by the time you're done the course, you will have developed and demonstrated these abilities. So first of all, to design programs and services in the career development field using technology to increase access for diverse clientele in the context of ethical considerations. So that's a bit of a mouthful, but essentially you will know how to create programs and services that will meet the needs of a broad range of clients. And of course, you're going to work with very diverse clients in the field, and you'll be also considering ethical considerations as part of that in the course. So, for example, the ethics of using artificial intelligence. You will be able to analyze the impact of a digital footprint, starting with your own artificial intelligence and use of social media platforms as necessary tools in work search and employability for clients and CDPs, including application to your own practicum search. So most of what you're going to learn to do, just as you did with resumes in work search, where you created first the resume for yourself, and then you also practiced critiquing each other's resumes as you would with clients. So the same idea will be applied in this course. You'll demonstrate the capacity to use different forms of social media and online education, web conferencing, webinar software to deliver services. So, for example, learning how to deliver a webinar using Zoom using an online platform and then facilitating that with a live group of clients or individuals. And then guiding clients in developing a personal brand as a tool for self-marketing as part of a comprehensive work search process, and apply these strategies to your practicum search. So you will first work in the course on developing your own personal brand and learning how to do that so you can help clients with it. Even if a client is, not going into an occupational field where having a brand is really important, that you would, present in a formal way to a prospective employer, you still need to have a clear sense. We go back to Frank Parsons' model back in theories of who am I and what is it that I have to offer if I'm going to go out and connect with employers. So you're going to really dive deeply into that question in this course in application to yourself, and then again, learn how to do that in working with clients. As I mentioned, this course is being delivered virtually and synchronously. So we will have in-class classes every Friday night. There will be a little bit of lecturing, but really not a lot. This is mostly hands-on work. It's almost like a technology lab, or think about when you did needs assessment in the fall, you were learning in sort of short bursts the information about how to apply the common assessment model, and then you would go and apply it. So it would be chunked down. So it'll be similar in this course. We'll be doing things in class. I'll be explaining, sometimes lecturing how to do certain things, and then you're going to go and work on those things independently or in groups. So that would be the synchronous activities. And then, of course, you will have some homework outside of class. Now, I want to emphasize here that it is really important, if at all possible, to be in class each week. This is because a lot of what we're doing in class is showing you how to do the things you have to do for the assignments, and you'll be given class time to get them started. You will be able to work on, if you've never set up a Zoom session before, you'll be able to work on setting up a Zoom session by yourself while you're in class, and then you come back and we talk about how that went for you, and then I can help you with troubleshooting. I have to emphasize that there is no opportunity outside of class for individual one-to-one coaching. All the coaching will be provided in class, and yes, the classes are recorded, but again, I really encourage you to try to be there in person each week if you can. I also want to point out that participation is mandatory for one class in week 6 or 7. These are the weeks that the webinars are being presented. So out of week 6 or 7, you will have one evening in which you'll be working in a group. I'll talk about the assignment in just a moment, but you'll be working in groups and you'll be presenting on one of these evenings. So the expectation is that you would be present for that entire class, not just your own presentation, so that you can be there to support your classmates. And this does require full participation with cameras activated. There's no textbook for the course, and all the course materials and resources will be provided in class or on D2L. And as I've already emphasized the importance of participating, so I'm not going to review that again. And most of this whole section is a repetition of the previous course outline. So you will have seen all of these points before. Hopefully you have read through them. We don't have any tests in the course, which is a good thing, I think. And just a reminder that the norms that you developed previously in the winter semester will be applying as well to this spring-summer course for professional conduct and creating a positive and safe learning environment for everybody. I'm just going to scroll through a little bit of this information because, again, this is all information that you have seen before in the other course outlines. But I do want to pause. Give me a second just to get down here to pause again on the section related to academic integrity. So you'll be familiar, I hope by now, on the importance of avoiding plagiarism. In particular, I just want to say some comments about use of AI platforms. I have specified in assignments previously, and I've done that in this course, when you cannot use generative AI. So generative, just to distinguish again, the difference between generative AI and assistive AI is that generative AI is using these platforms to write your words for you, and that is considered plagiarism, and it is considered a breach of academic integrity. Assistive AI is okay. That means you're using it just to help clean up the spelling and grammar. If you're stuck on a particular word and you're, not sure, maybe it's like the thesaurus or synonym, I should say, feature in the Word software. So a lot of the assistive features of ChatGPT, for example, can also be found within the Word program itself. So it is okay to do spell checking and grammar and punctuation improvements using ChatGPT, but I really encourage you to not use it to write your words, because that is considered plagiarism and it is a breach of the academic integrity policy. One of the other risks of using it, if you are using it to generate your work, is that these sources are fallible and they have been known to produce inaccurate, biased, unethical, and offensive information. We'll explore this a bit more in the course, but I have sometimes come across students' assignments where they have used ChatGPT, and it's just, invented a completely different name for a concept or a theory, and it doesn't fit with what's being covered in the course. So please, I've probably said enough on it now, but please just, write your own work, do your own work. It's important because when you are out there working with clients, you need to have the knowledge and the information embedded in your own head and have it at your fingertips. And if you haven't really absorbed that information, you've allowed ChatGPT to write your essays for you, so you didn't remember really any of the content, then that information is not going to be available to you when you're in front of the client. And that's where the real test comes. Okay, I'm going to leave that topic and just continue scrolling down here. Let's have a look now at the chart, which shows you a snapshot of what you'll be working on in the course. And I'm just going to shrink this down a little bit on the screen. And I'm sorry, it'll be kind of small, but it will at least be able to, you'll at least be able to kind of see everything at a glance. So the first thing that you're going to do, and this is just a quick snapshot, I will talk a little bit more in the classes about these assignments. The first thing that's important for you to note is that in particular at the end of the first week of the course, you're going to be asked to submit a fully polished version of your resume and cover letter to be used in applying for practicum. This really should not be a hard thing for you to do, as you worked on your resume and cover letter in the work search course and you receive feedback on changes and improvements to be made. So at this point, all those revisions should be incorporated into those documents by the time you submit this and have to do this at the end of week 1, you don't really have to do any work on it other than maybe giving it a quick final read and polish. The resume and cover letter are to be specifically targeted to apply for practicum. So the point here is to get them ready to go, because as we work through the spring and summer semester, you're going to be ramping up to start applying for practicum, and you don't want to delay that process because you need another 2 or 3 weeks to finish up your resume. So you're just simply going to submit it by the end of week 1, and you're going to get 5 marks automatically for submitting it. I am not marking it using a rubric. Basically, I'm going to give you one of 3 comments. It's ready to go. It's perfect. You don't have to make any changes. Or door number 2, it's ready to go with some minor corrections, which I will make. So if there's a comma or a period missing or something, a little wonky in the format that's easy to fix, I will point that out. The third option is that if it needs enough work that I really can't do this quickly, then I will be referring you to Career Services to do the final polish. Please understand, if I ask you to take it to Career Services, this is with the intention of helping you to be ready, because it means your resume and cover letter are not quite ready to submit for practicum opportunities. We don't want you to miss out on those opportunities by submitting documents that are not fully polished. So you need to be ready to go as soon as Jamoya pulls the trigger and says, okay, start applying for practicums. You want to have those documents in hand and fully polished. At the end of week 2, you're going to submit what's called a self-audit digital footprint and action plan assignment, which is worth 15%. We'll be getting started on this in the first class, and this is an example of how you'll be able to get some of your homework started if you attend classes fully. In this assignment, you're going to do an online search to examine what kind of information comes up under your name on the internet. This will reveal what kind of impression employers might gain from doing a search if they decide to Google you, and most employers will, including those who are considering you for practicum. For example, you may have done postings on a social media platform, and you will examine these as part of your footprint audit to see what those postings might suggest about you to prospective practicum employers. And beyond that, when you begin applying for jobs in the field. So you're going to Google yourself and see what comes up, because that will show you exactly what employers would see. So I'll be sharing with you some principles and suggestions for strengthening your digital footprint, even if it's already good. This will be due at the end of week 2, but again, we're going to get started on this in week 1, and that's why it's important for you to try and be in class. And I just want to point out here that assignments are not due on the day of class. They're always due at the end of the week, Sunday at midnight. So we have our class Friday night. You will still have a couple of extra days after we have the class to finish your assignments. And don't worry, by the way, if you don't think you have an online footprint for this assignment, you will still have an alternative way to do it. The third assignment you're going to submit for marks is your personal branding statement. We will begin working on this in class 2 to help you get started. You're going to create a personal branding statement, and you would have started some of this work on this in the work search class. Sean may have called it a personal statement or an elevator pitch or something like that. This would be like the general summary or objective statement you put at the top of your resume or in your cover letter. So we're going to start with that, and then we're going to build on and expand that statement, which can then be used in the next assignment I'll talk about in a moment, the self-promotion video, and also the LinkedIn assignment. So this is worth 10%, and it's due at the end of week 3. You can see now that things will move quickly through the course, but again, if you are in class each week, you will be given time to jumpstart these assignments, and each one builds on the previous assignment. So now that I'm getting closer to the bottom of the page, I'll just expand that a bit more. So the fourth thing you're going to submit is a self-promotion video. You're going to create a 1 to 3 minute, it says 3 minutes there, but it's 1 to 3 minute video to promote yourself to employers for potential practicum or job opportunities using video recording technology. You'll use your branding statement, which you submitted in week 3, as your script for the video. Now, please don't panic if you've never made a video. You're going to have a good chunk of time in class to work on doing this. It's not the same as just using your cell phone to record a little TikTok video. This needs to look professional. But I will lead you through the steps, and I'm providing you with lots of resources to help you. Every student who's ever been in this class and taken this course has always been able to create the video, and you will too. So that will be due at the end of week 5, and it's worth 15% of your mark. The next assignment involves ensuring you have an effective LinkedIn profile that's targeted to the CDP field. Probably most of you have a LinkedIn profile, but you may not have anything related to the CDP field on it, or you may not know how to rework your profile to reflect your new focus in this field. So it'll be important that you learn how to do that, because again, employers, even for practicum, are going to look you up on LinkedIn, and they will examine your digital footprint, which includes your profile on that platform. So I'll show you how to update and improve your profile, make use of all the components and leverage the settings to enhance your visibility and present yourself effectively. When we get to this assignment, you'll see how we continue to build on the previous work that you've done in the course. You'll be incorporating your branding statement and also your self-promotion video into your LinkedIn profile. So that will be worth 25% of your grade, and it's due at the end of week 6. And I just want to mention here that it could float. You have the option to turn it in a week 6 or week 7, depending on when you're doing your webinar, and I'll talk about that in a second. The other thing I want to mention here is that if for any reason you don't want to be online, you have chosen to stay off all social media and to not have an online presence, that's okay. You will still be able to do this assignment. I've got a couple of workarounds for students who don't want to have an online social media profile. People sometimes have very legitimate reasons for this. So I'm not going to force you to have a social media presence if you don't want to, but you will still be able to do the assignment. And you do need to know how to create a LinkedIn profile effectively so you can help your clients with this. So lastly, you're going to present a short webinar. You're going to work in groups of 3, most likely, if the numbers work out in the class, and you will choose your own group. Your group will choose a topic from a list provided that I will give you, or you can choose a different topic with my approval. Your group will develop the content and materials and facilitate a synchronous 15-minute webinar in class. This will be a very valuable skill for you to have out in the field, and it will be very appealing to employers if you say that you can create webinars and either record them for on-demand use or present them live. The presentations will happen in weeks 6 and 7, the last 2 weeks of the course, and time slots will be selected by the groups on a first-come, first-served basis. This will be worth 30% of your final grade. And as I mentioned previously, I just want to reinforce here that participation is mandatory for one full class on the night that you are presenting with your group. And this is to support your classmates in their presentations and avoid the experience of people just coming in long enough to do their presentation and leaving. And then the people that are there to present after don't really have much of an audience to work with. So please plan for the evening that you are doing your webinar, that you're going to be there for the entire class with your camera on. So that all adds up to 100%. The passing grade for the course is 50%. And as I scroll down, the final pages that you will see here towards the end are the weekly descriptions that give you a synopsis each week showing what you'll be working on and what links you'll be looking at and so on. Now, at the time that I'm showing you this, I have not had a chance to go through and verify them all again. I did verify them several weeks ago, but things do change. So I will be going through these. And if at any point you find a link that's not working, please do feel free to let me know. And I just want to remind you that in the weeks that you see something in this column, evaluation description and evaluation percentage value, that indicates that an assignment is due. So all of the assignments that I've just referred to will show up in this description under the week that they're due. So you can see in week 1, this is the resume and cover letter, as I said, as we get down to week 2. This is the digital footprint self-audit, and so on. So anytime you see anything in this column, it means you've got something due in that week. But I have also posted a document with all of the assignments listed on one page and all of the due dates. So you can download that from D2L, and please make a note of those dates. So that's it for the course outline. And if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to let me know. I will be reviewing just some highlights from all of this in the first class, but I appreciate you sticking through to the end of this and watching the entire thing. So thank you for watching. And again, let me know if you have any questions at all.